So our solution worked, um, but we need to talk about some of the problems that we're going to have. Um, Potential runtime errors here. I talk about the idea, the fact that one of the things that we played around with, we had our reps being equal to 20 to 50, and then we did reps.split on that, and we get back 2050. What happens if reps is just equal to 20? Is the split going to blow up because there's no dash? No, it won't. It will just return the string. Um, so if we try to then map that into the int function, I'm gonna have to say list on that. That's still going to work. That's cool. But the problem is going to be when I try to assign that to low. Whoops. Let me take that bit. Right there. If I try to assign that to low and high, that's going to blow up because the map is only going to produce one value, and I'm trying to tell it to assign it to two values, and Python's just like, no, can't do that. Now the problem is that this is a runtime exception. There's no real way that Python will know that this is going to happen at compile time. Now, more conservative languages would say, well, you first have to do the split, then you have to know how many values you are before you can just unpack that. But Python's like, no, that's cool. If you think that's going to work, we're going to go with that. And then it's not until your program runs with bad data or unexpected data that that you'll get this error. And so, thinking back philosophically, maybe your input file, if it only has one value, then you always do that number. So, and maybe there are some cases in which it doesn't have to be a low and a high value. And so you just, if there's a single number, you take that. So you will encounter this in your programming, your job, and you'll have to figure out, well, if there are two numbers, then we're going to choose a value in between. If there's only one number, then we're going to always use that number. What if there were three numbers? What if it was 20-50-70? I mean, that's just clearly crazy. What are you going to do if you get that? Because if let's just go back and put reps as 20, 50, 70. And what happens if we split that? We get three values. And then if we try to assign three values to two values, again, we get a runtime exception because Python will be like, I don't know what to do with that. What happens too if reps is not something like if it was 20 to 30, and then if we try to split that, it's going to blow up because it doesn't know what to do with 30. You can't say int of the string 30. That's an exception. So you have to think about bad data in your input file, and so the example I showed you with maybe using a regular expression to map against one or more digits followed by a dash followed by one or more digits and then capturing those, maybe that's a better way to go about this. What happens if the record that you're trying to get at has the fields in uppercase instead of lowercase? Here, this is in title case. And so now your code's just going to blow up here. When you call reps, there's not going to be that field name. And so that's going to blow up. So here I show a version that we could write that's a little bit safer. So we go back here and we look at our read CSV. And you see here how I'm calling rec exercise and rec reps. Just assuming that those keys exist, but they may not. And so instead, I say, well, what if I were to get these values out using the get method, like that? That's a lot safer. And if you remember, get will return that value if that key exists in that dictionary. I called it row here. Let me call it rec. But if these don't exist, then they will return none. And so we can say if name and reps, so both of those have to be present. And I can say, whoops, I wanted to indent those. Now I can go forward if I have non values, or really we have to think about these are strings, so the empty string is actually falsy, and because I'm just kind of using this like falsy and truthy, I'm not explicitly saying if name not none and reps not none. So I'm just saying if name and reps, I'm just saying evaluate this in a Boolean context. So if they're either none or the empty string, they'll evaluate as falsy. Anything other than those values will be truthy. So if I have a value for name and reps, now I can go forward. This bit here with mapping onto int and split is not such a great way to go about it. I really think that it's a case here to use a regular expression and do a match, and which means we're going to have to bring in the we're going to have to import RE for this, and oops, go back down here, and I can say if match, then low and high is equal to match.groups. So groups, if you remember, will return all the matching, all the grouped here, and because there are exactly two groups, I can safely impact that into low and high. So if I'm not matching something that looks like a number followed by a number, then I will not move forward. That should actually handle a lot of the other bad input files. So if we were to run this on inputs, bad, let's use bad empty. Okay, that's going to be a problem. We'll have to come back to this one. How about bad headers? This is all okay. This is another error that we're going to have to deal with. Really better. There is a unit file. If we look at this, what I want to show you, this unit.py, this has tests for their CSV that go far beyond what our simple one did. So let's actually just run pytest-xv on unit and see how we're doing. Low is not defined. Low, high. What am I missing here? Name. Oh, have I not saved it? Let's try that again. Okay. Oh, I didn't turn those into ints. Yes, now I can map those to ints. Map onto int the groups. And this will be safe because I know I have the right number. I know that they are digits. I know that I can do that. So this unit.py is where I try to imagine all the bad kinds of data that I could encounter. And I try to assert that I get back, for instance here, nothing. Like that's going to just return an empty list, which is fine. Here it succeeds in parsing this one, but situps 4100, nope, can't parse that, so it just doesn't end up in the return value. And so this is, again, when it comes to designing your tests and writing your own code, it's going to be up to you to decide what you do when you encounter bad data. Do you throw an exception? Do you just halt the program and spit out an error to the user saying, there was bad data in your file and you need to fix it before I go forward? Or are you just like here, honestly, we're silently ignoring the records that we can't parse? Is that better than stopping and telling the user your data's bad? You have to make a decision. Maybe you have a logging function that says, just quietly notes, I'm skipping, record on line 14 because, I couldn't parse it, just so you know.